go. Hello, friends and enemies. Welcome to another fantastic episode of A Little Bit Unhinged. Casey's here.
Hey.
We have snoring mascots. It's beautiful.
Passed out.
Very restful mascots. Splayed across the landscape.
Yeah, one might have a headache if she were a human.
Oh, yeah. But she looks very comfortable, question mark. If I slept like that, I couldn't walk for days. Anyway, we're here talking about games. It's our bi-showly game, bi-monthly, ought show game show. I'll figure it out.
Bi-monthly?
But yeah, let's do bi-monthly. I like that. Bi-monthly game episode, unless it's not, but this time it is. And I want to start because we started talking about this when we were prepping for the episode, because you'd mentioned that you were working on your top 100 games list, which we will have to do an episode and go through that.
Well, working on top 100 lists and like just kind of throwing a few of them together and saying I'll get to it when I get to it, and 3 years later I still haven't made the full list.
Look, I haven't started one. I have ideas of what'll be on one, so I'll work on one, and then we can compare notes on a 15 of 100 or whatever. But in that conversation, you'd mentioned that you do very clearly have your top 5 disappointing game list.
Yeah, because when I was making the top 100, I realized that I could think of my disappointments and have stronger feelings about them than some of my, like, who cares about game number 59?
Yeah.
Compared to disappointment number 3.
Yes, you had a pure, like, when you were telling me about this, it came from the chest.
I have a little bit of rage with a couple of these.
It came from the chest, and so
I'll tone it down for the episode.
No, you should.
I will speak coherently for the episode.
Here's what's nice about this. None of the games that you mentioned in a way that would make anyone who loves those games frustrated, right?
Yeah. Right.
You didn't mention them like, I thought this game was going to be good and it sucked. Like, that's not what you did. Now, my list is going to be like that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be like, oh, I bought this game because I thought it was going to be good, and this game blew ass.
Well, I think that a lot of mine, I had the expectation of them being great games.
Yes.
And they fell flat. So I guess this is a good chance to open up with my number one disappointment.
Do it.
Or should I go backwards? Should I go 5 to 1?
I was going to say do 5.
Okay.
Except 5 is the one that you were most passionate about.
That's true.
So maybe go with 1.
We could just go in a random order, and I can start with number 2.
Yeah, just list them off.
Because this will just irritate some of our listeners. Because I can just see a couple of the people who have already yelled about it's not finishing list telling me, how could you go 2, 4, 3, 1, 5?
Yeah. Well, it'll be even worse if you go 2, 4, 3, 1, and then we stop. So
because since you just said that number 5 is the one I'm the most passionate about.
Yep.
Okay, so this one, I'm going to start with my number 2 disappointment, because this is the one that I think is a me problem, because it is a good game, and it was just me not knowing what I was signing up for. So my number 2 disappointment is Disgaea. And that's because when it came out, and I looked it up just now, it came out in 2003.
Yep.
And so I remember beforehand hearing the premise of the game, like you're the prince of hell, or I don't remember all the specifics, but you're trying to break out and go whatever. And I thought it was such a cool concept. I thought it was going to be really fun. I didn't know what strategy game meant.
Yeah.
So then I get the game.
You were like 5 then, so.
Well, I think by show standards, I wasn't even born yet.
Oh, that's right. That's fair. That's right.
In reality, I was younger. I was in my teens.
Sure.
So, I just didn't really comprehend what a strategy game was, because compared to just like a typical RPG, which is what I expected it to be. Yep. So that's why it was disappointing. I wasn't good at it. I didn't get very far. So that's why it's my number 2. It's also probably my least hot take out of these.
Sure. Yeah. All right. I only have one. We were talking about it, and I don't have that list. I don't have the list, and so I was just kind of thinking about it. But I have one game that will absolutely, clearly be the number one game on the list if I ever make a list, and that is X-Men Destiny, which a lot of people don't even know what it was or why. It came out late September 2011. And it was supposed to be a action role-playing game, X-Men game, and I pre-ordered it just based on its existence. And you were supposed to customize your character and give him special powers, and it was supposed to be. And one of the things we realized, because when I was talking to my friends about it, was man, nobody's reviewed this game yet, and it's getting ready to come out. Nobody's talking about it, and that should have been red flag. I should have taken my pre-order away, and I got it, and the game was garbage. It wasn't fun. Movement sucked. Combat sucked. It was the most disappointing. And I've mentioned it on previous episodes. Was and am a big X-Men fan. If you could tell me, hey, you're going to get a game where you can make a character in a universe, X-Men is where I'm going. And so they fucked it up, and I was really sad about it.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah. All right, give us the next one.
Pick a number.
Let's go 4.
Okay, so number 4 is going to be a big surprise to anybody who knows me, because they know that I'm a huge fan of this whole series. I'm obsessed with it. Always have been, always will be. Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. I did not like it when I got it. Mm-hmm. Nothing against the story or anything, but it just, playing it on the Wii hurt my wrist, and I could not progress very well in that game. I could play for 30 minutes, and then my arms would be hurting just because you had to be so precise. And I do think that some of it was just, I had an older Wii, so maybe my Wiimote didn't have the precision that it originally had, and I just never replaced it. I didn't think about that at the time, but I just had such a hard time with how much it wanted you to be perfectly vertical or perfectly horizontal or do whatever motion. And so it would hurt, and I just never... It wasn't until... was it last year or the year before when the remaster came out on Switch? That's when I actually got to play it and finish it. And even then, I still didn't have a good time with the motion controls. It still kind of bothered my wrist a little bit. And I didn't enjoy how you went back to the same area so many times, which is common in Zelda games, but it was just done in a way that was much more, go back here, go to the same,
It was much more like fetch quests and MMOs than it was like a natural story progression of going from places to other places. Yeah,
because usually when you're going back, it's because you have some new information or you can access new areas, and you weren't necessarily going back to new areas. I guess you kind of were, but it just didn't...
It didn't give you the sense of adventure that you wanted it to give you.
Yeah, it felt a lot smaller than some of the others. Yeah. But then there were other parts of it that I really enjoyed. There was one spot that I can't remember exactly. You go back to the forest area again, and it's flooded and stuff, and you chase some things, and that was one of my favorite things that I've ever done in a game. So it still had its good moments, but it just kind of fell flat as far as all of the other Zelda games that I've played.
Yeah. I remember, because it wasn't a game I was ever going to play at the time. It's just a 3D Zelda game. I was just no thank you. But I remember there being a pretty big conversation about the motion controls. Because I remember seeing they finally added a different way to do those, on the stick or whatever, so that people could do it, because it was bothering a lot of people. So, it's one of those, they tried something. That's good. I don't know how many games tried to do things with that kind of precision that people liked a lot.
Yeah, because, and Twilight Princess was also on Wii, and I had no trouble with it, because it wasn't precise. You could just swing your Wiimote, and you were swinging your sword, and that was it.
Yeah.
You didn't have to be precise about getting it perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical, or twisting this way or that way. And so it made it to where you could do it however you wanted to and you're fine.
Yeah.
Skyward Sword just tried to go a step beyond, and then it fell flat.
Yeah. Understood. Okay. All right. Another one on my list that I'm going to mention is Duke Nukem Forever.
Big disappointment for many people.
Man, like when I think about it now as a grown-up, I don't know that it could have, if it was gonna get there, because they'd already done it. Like, they'd already done the Duke Nukem things that you needed to, but they talked a big game about it, and Duke Nukem was like the video game action star. Like, especially like around Max Payne time. Like, there was a few, obviously, but when it came to, like, as you started getting from Doom to Quake to Duke Nukem, like, he was the guy. And so a big Duke Nukem, like, that would have launched, the Duke Nukem franchise would have been huge today had they figured it out.
Yeah.
But boy, they did not figure it out. They didn't figure it out.
Have they made one since that?
Let's see. I think they did a remake of 3D, Duke Nukem 3D. I think.
But it was just a remake. They haven't done an original.
I don't think they've made an actual new original Duke Nukem game. Again, I think that pretty much crushed.
I mean, that says something.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of series with a lot of flops that still could bounce back.
Like, Serious Sam still made it, and it could have been Serious Sam, and it just didn't. So, yeah, that was a big disappointment, because I will always enjoy, like, your wisecracking hero shooting things and doing grandiose hero poses, and there being some happy ladies around. Like, you know what? For a video game, it's fine. Like, that's a good time. You know, as long as it's not too deep, it's a good time. And yeah, they took it away from us. They ruined it for everyone. All right, now that we're in the middle, let's do number 5 now.
Okay.
Let's do it now.
Number 5, probably won't be too much of a surprise for anybody, but it's Darksiders 3. And I love the Darksiders series. I missed them when they first came out, and it was just a few years ago when there was a sale on them, Darksiders 1 and 2, for like $5 for both games. And I was like, oh yeah, those look like fun games. I remember when they came out. I played them both. I loved them both. And then I found out about Darksiders 3 coming out, and that Fury was going to be the main character for this one, and I was excited. I didn't really look into trailers or anything. I was just
ready to do it. Like, hey, I like the first two. Let's go.
Yeah, like, didn't need that much. I saw some of the character design, and I saw like they were going to do the hair color and all that, and that it was going to be because each of them are a little bit different. So it was going to follow more of, I don't want to say Souls-like, because it's not really a Souls-like, but it has more of that
combat action-y, almost closer to the Batman-y style, but where you kind of you do a little dodge, but it's not like precision dodging.
And so, like, I was excited for it, and then I played it. And it was not great for me, because so the fighting was still fine. I didn't have a problem with the fighting. I have a huge problem with how they developed Fury as a character. Because even though her name is Fury, she didn't need to be such a raging bitch the way that she was in the story. And people usually make a comment like, well, her name is Fury. But War's name is War, and Death is Death. And they still had more depth to their characters in the first 2 games than what they gave Fury. They gave her a redemption at the end, but they still just made her so unlikable for all of it. And they also, and this is a spoiler for anybody who has not played and may care, but they also killed the horse, who was a huge portion of why I wanted to play that game, because and why I like these games is because I really like the horsemen, and they have their horses. So
and the horse design were cool, and they kind of matched. And and
they go with your person. Like, War had ruin, Death had despair, Fury had Rampage, and then they killed him on like the second boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of her opening scenes is like her doing a little monologue, her and her horse looking out, and her saying, "Oh, I'm so bored. I'm just so bored. I could just kill you right now." And it was just something that I'm like, that's something you love dearly. This is just such a dumb way to build this character and to design this game. And also the voice acting in it was atrocious. Yeah. And so I couldn't get past all of that as far as the story went. But everything else, like the scenery was really well done, I feel like, and I don't remember hating the combat. I think I remember liking it fairly well.
General game design and stuff was good. Like general game design was really solid. Yeah,
and it could have been. I really thought it was going to be the one that I was going to like the most out of the games, and that she was going to be the horseman that I liked the most.
As you would expect.
Yeah, because I just expected that. Yeah. She looked like she was going to fit exactly the type of female character that I loved, and then they designed her the way that, and it is what it is. Yeah. But then it also was another like a little bit of a knife to the gut because Darksiders Genesis came out after that, and they did a really great job with War and Strife in that game. Yep. So it just made it feel even more disappointing to look back on Darksiders 3.
Just say, you guys really, no reason to drop the ball the way they did. Yeah. There. That's too bad. You did. You controlled yourself a lot more when you said it this time, because you said to me, what did you say? Neutral.
Oh yeah. About how War and Death had depth to their character. I'm going to go backwards so that I can make the War comment the last one. In the second one, Death, you know, they're obnoxious. They're still like, I'm better than you kind of an attitude. They're still horsemen, but he loves his brothers, the Nephilim, and he's trying to save them, and he sacrifices them at the end. Again, this is all spoilers, but like to save humanity, and there's growth and development in the character, and so I enjoyed that. And then with War, it's the same thing. He's honorable. He's not just this bloodthirsty, let me go kill everything, let me start a fight. And he's lawful neutral, which is the comment that I made. Like,
lawful neutral.
Because I expected him to be, out of the four of them, I thought that he would be the one I liked the least, because he's just this lawful neutral little bitch boy.
But he's really depthful, the characters that they made there, and it's really too bad. Did you say they're making another one? Did they make it? Are they making one?
Yeah, they are supposed to make Darksiders 4. I don't know when, but Strife is supposed to be the main. Last I heard, I've heard that there's going to be a total of 5. Well, I guess Genesis is like a prequel one, so that one doesn't count. Because it's supposed to be all of them get their own game, and then there's supposed to be a 5th one where they're all back together again. And I could be out of sync with the latest news because it's been a while since I've looked up anything.
Oh, that sounds right.
I might be wrong.
On my quick search, I think you covered it, but they don't know when Darksiders 4 is coming out yet. There hasn't been like a release date or things. But people are very excited for it, as they should be.
Yeah, because Strife is now my favorite out of them from playing Genesis. He's the spunkiest of the bunch. With a name like Strife, which just goes back to Fury did not need to be the raging bitch that she is.
How they failed Fury.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, I'm glad we did that one. That was a good midpoint energy one. The next one on my list that I remembered as you were talking about this is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5.
What is it about 5 specifically?
It just was bad. So here's the thing. It released in 2015, and, the Tony Hawk series had already kind of, like Tony Hawk Underground, like you had the original, like Tony Hawk 1 and 2, amazing. 3 was good, and then like Tony Hawk Underground 1 and 2 was good. And then there was like a break, and so it was like, okay, Tony Hawk. And then they did the one with the actual skateboard, like ride, which nobody liked. Nobody wanted to buy the board. And then, 2015 came around. We as a nation was ready for a good Tony Hawk game to come back, and it wasn't good. It didn't advance. It wasn't anything that you couldn't get from just playing the older ones. Like it didn't do anything new. It wasn't particularly any funner. Like it just was a dud. And people felt it. Like, I was like, because I thought of it and I was like, let me look it up. I wonder if anybody felt like I felt. And it's like a 3.5 on, it's like a 37% on Metacritic and like a 3.5 on IGN. Like it was just not good. And it's so funny because when they made the re-release of Tony Hawk 1 and 2, I guess 2 years ago or something, people bought the crap out of that because Tony Hawk 1 and 2 is exceptional. People would have rather rebought 1 and 2 than to have played 5. And that's when you know you fucked up.
Yeah.
That's when you know you fucked up. And I can't play them as much anymore, but I did start replaying Tony Hawk 1 and 2 heavily drugged up on Dramamine because I've been watching skateboard video. Like, I can't do it and I'm not going to injure myself, but I've always enjoyed watching skateboarders just do cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And so as the skateboarding gaming community is waiting for Skate 4 to come out, which I'm imagining is going to be incredible, I replay Skate 3 sometimes, and I decided, hey, I'm going to replay Tony Hawk 1 and 2 because as a kid, I just play the absolute hell out of those. And 5 just didn't have it. It was too bad.
Man, sucks.
Yeah. All right, let's see. We got to do number 2?
3.
Oh, 3. We got to do 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do 3.
This one's going to upset some people. This is a very beloved game. Not for me, though. Super Mario Galaxy.
Super Mario Galaxy.
I love Mario games. I should lead with that. Odyssey, N64, like all those versions are all great. But Galaxy is one of the few games that makes me get motion sickness. Mm-hmm. Besides David Cage games, this is the only one I know of that has made me motion sick before. And I just couldn't play it. I gave up very quickly into the game and never went back. So it's disappointing in that respect.
Yeah. I'm sure. I own it. And I'm just like, I don't think I can ever fire it up. As a matter of fact, I don't think I can even watch a speed run of it. It moves so much.
Yeah.
I think it'll make me sick.
Some of the little worlds, like the spinning and going upside down and stuff,
You've got the background rotation and then the world rotation.
Yep. It messes with me, so I just never really got anywhere with it. Yeah.
No. I understand this too. I mean, I'm a person that just has that problem with games that move all the time, but I specifically with that, I get it. All right, I'm going to put this one on my list because we talked about it. We just talked about it recently, and I realized that it should be on my list, and it actually probably should be high on my list, and that's Starfield.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I am a big Skyrim fan. Skyrim is one of the few games I've beaten more than once. I think maybe I've beaten it 4 times. I beat the regular version and the enhanced version probably more than once of each of them. I've got a lot of hours in Skyrim. And so I really wanted Starfield to be good. But the problem with Starfield is they put you on a world and they go here. And so then you go from point A to point B and there's literally nothing to do in between there. It's one of the reasons that I have a hard time getting into Fallout games as much as I like the way they're written and everything, because it's just like at the beginning, before you have fast travel, it's like, okay, walk to there. And it's like, yeah, in Fallout games, you at least have stuff going on, but sometimes it's just so much traversal of nothing. And I'm just like I like adventuring, but Fallout, it makes sense because it's a world that adventuring is dangerous and barren.
Yeah.
But Starfield, they have an opportunity to make the worlds be anything, and they make them boring.
Yeah. I have heard complaints about people saying that they made it too realistic with the space travel.
Yep.
Where you're just going through an empty void.
Yeah.
Which is, in some ways, what some people wanted.
Sure.
but that's not what the vast majority of people would want. So
even if it's something that people wanted, the problem is it's not fun. So sometimes you got to make decisions to just make your game fun.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like in the world, some of the characters and the character bit, like it's still got some of that Skyrim building, and it's got the fun things about that engine where just stuff kind of breaks in funny ways, which is hilarious. I love when stuff just breaks in random ways, and the game still does that, but unfortunately in between doing missions and doing stuff, you just are doing nothing.
Yeah.
A lot. And that's disappointing. It's disappointing because even when you had to traverse in Skyrim, because you had to wander in the fields in Skyrim, but it's like, hey, a little town, or hey, there's a bear cave, and you find a like there's treats for wandering, but the only thing you get in Starfield for wandering is off course. That's it. So, yeah, that one was really disappointing.
Yeah, it sucks.
And I didn't even pay for it. I got it for free on the Game Pass, and I was like, I got to uninstall this.
Man,
it
says something if a free game is too disappointing for you.
I tried to put time. I was like, I'm going to put time in it. Because I read the reviews about it. I knew that it was going to be a struggle. And I'm like, I'm going to do it because I like space stuff. And eventually, I guess spoilers, eventually you get some kind of powers situation. And that's my favorite sci-fi stuff. It's some space stuff with some powers. Let's go. And I couldn't even get through it long enough to get to the point where you get powers, which is not that deep in the game. I couldn't even stick with that long.
Yeah.
All right, number 1.
This is going to be no surprise to anybody. This is the one that I think has disappointed most people. It would end up on their disappointments list. And I want to lead with, I was looking forward to this game. Similar to Darksiders 3.
Yep.
I was looking forward to this game for so long. I remember the E3 trailer coming out. I remember being so excited because it was from one of my favorite series, franchises, favorite characters. And like they were bringing it back to a game that I loved, that I grew up with, and giving a character a voice, and like I was so excited. And then I played Metroid Other M. And I cannot begin to describe all the faults in that game because, and again, like it looked great to me. I remember seeing like the baby Metroid and the E3 trailer and everybody talking about it and just being so excited and so ecstatic that they were going to do a direct sequel to Super Metroid, essentially. And, they're going to give her a voice and you're going to learn more of her backstory. And I just thought that was going to be so cool.
Yep. Not just thought it was going to be. It should have been.
And I did not, it just didn't live up to it. Like, she became a little whiny girl with daddy issues.
Yes.
Which, she's supposed to be a badass.
Yeah, like...
And even the play style in that game is not good. Like, there's a lot of things that were just so poorly done with the combat system. Like, when you want to use your missiles, you have to switch the Wiimote from being like a vertical pointing at the screen to sideways. And there's a long pause where she transitions to her missiles and things can still hit you.
Yep.
And then it screws you up. And like, there were a lot of times that I died in it just because you had so much time that they were going to do all this damage while you're trying to get your missiles out and then start aiming. And there were a couple of other things. That was the one that really stuck out in my mind because it was so annoying and obnoxious.
That would be really frustrating.
But there were other things with it that, like, I think the screw attack, in order to properly, like, use that and keep momentum, you had to hit it at, like, very precise times, or you just start, like, dropping and just things like that I think they could have done in a much better way or explained better. And again, giving her daddy issues, just did not enjoy it.
You didn't. She was Nintendo's preeminent badass female. Like 5-star #1, and they do it all the time. They don't mess up their preeminent badass males.
Yeah.
They don't have to do that.
They don't give the men mommy issues.
Yeah, they don't have to do that, but they just decided to do that with her. But
yeah. But they brought in Team Ninja for that one. So some of that is they got an outside crew that did not do it justice.
Yeah, Team Ninja has their own style of handling ladies in games. So,
but even to this day, like anytime that there's a new Metroid coming out, I don't feel great about it. So like when Metroid Dread was announced, I watched the trailer because everybody said, no, it looks great, you're going to love it. And I was like, this looks like Other M.
Yeah.
I just cannot begin to care.
Yep.
And this will segue us into our next topic, because even with the Prime 4 announcement coming out, I'm still just like, I'm really hyped. I love Prime.
Yep.
When the remaster came out last year or the year before, I played through all of Prime, turned it off, started it right back up, and started playing all over again because I love it.
Even what little I've played of it, Prime is exceptional.
And I just can watch Prime 4 and I know I'll play it. I know I'll love it. I know it'll feel just like a Prime game, but I cannot get excited about it because Other M has tainted my heart forever.
Sure. No, I mean, look, that's what happens. Well, look, the expectation, the weight of expectations on the big game franchises, which I think I can safely call it. This is for example, this wasn't going to be the game I name next, but it is a game that fits this, is Street Fighter V. So Street Fighter 4 was what brought me back into fighting games again and what I started to play competitively. Street Fighter 4 was great. Until finally it ran through its cycle and went a couple years and, Street Fighter V is happening. And comparatively, Street Fighter V was not good. We were stuck with it, so we played it. We played it competitively, but we were ready for Street Fighter V to be, because Street Fighter 4 was so good. Yeah. And we knew they fucked up when Street Fighter V launched because they didn't have any real single-player content. That was coming later. So the launch was botched. Like, it started off bad and it never quite got there. We were into it because Street Fighter is, besides Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter is like the preeminent fighting game, that moves the needle when it comes to that. So if you want to be interested in competitive gaming, fighting gaming, you've got to be interested in Street Fighter. But Street Fighter V did that same thing. So when Street Fighter 6 was announced initially, it was the same thing. It was like, yeah, but this could just be Street Fighter V again. Like even though they talked big and they're like, we're going to do this and we're going to do this and it's going to be good. It's like, yeah, but and then Street Fighter 6 came out and turned out to be very good. But I feel the same way, and I'll feel the same way whenever the next Street Fighter game gets announced. It'll be like, okay, but this can't be a Street Fighter V situation, because anytime it can be. When they show they can make those decisions once, you're just like, they can always do it again.
Exactly. Like there's always going to be a hesitation until I get to experience it and know that it's good. Until then, whatever.
I agree. Honorable mention: Final Fantasy VIII. Okay. You know what? I want to save. Let's save the Nintendo Direct and Summer Games Fest, because we've already done a half an hour on this.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We killed it. So, that just going back through disappointing game, and I'll be interested. I'm going to try to force as many of my friends as I can to listen to this, because I will be interested to hear their list too, because I know there's going to be games that somebody will mention to me and I'll be like, oh man, that's right. Yeah. I was so mad that game sucked.
Yeah, I want everybody to reach out and tell us all the games.
Yeah, I'm going to push this one. I'm going to push this one out because I want to hear from you guys your disappointing game stories, because I know that there's a bunch, like Resident Evil fans. I always hear about the stuff that they don't, considering how good the series has been, some of the bad stuff, Metal Gear whatever. There's so many fandoms that I think have a dud in the series that people were like, this should have been really good to hear about. So, I want to hear from you guys.
And especially anybody who has also played Darksiders 3 and who can commiserate with me.
Yeah. Darksiders fans, and I know a couple of the people that I know that I'm going to make listen to this are the people that introduced me to Darksiders, and I haven't had this conversation with them. So I'll be interested to find out how they feel about it.
I can't wait to hear.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. So, all right, guys. thanks so much. I'm going to talk to each and every one of you because I can see who listened, and you're going to talk to me about this. So, no, but we appreciate you listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.